What's up, you guys? It's Cody Steck, your Utah realtor, back here with another video. This one's going to be a little bit different than what I normally post here on the channel, but I think it will bring a lot of value to those people who are looking at relocating here or are already living here and looking at buying a home. So I'm going to be doing some sort of a reaction to an article that was posted on a local news site about Salt Lake City's ability to outbuild the housing shortage that we have. Now, I am a realtor, and of course I would love to help you buy a home or help sell a home, but I'm going to try and keep this as unbiased as possible and just give you guys my general thoughts on what the article is saying and what you can do about it and how it's going to play into your ability to either rent or buy here in the Salt Lake City and surrounding areas. Okay, so jumping right into this article, the article says, like many U.S. cities, Salt Lake finds it can't build way out of affordable housing shortage. So this article was posted a couple of months ago, and we're just going to jump right in. I'm going to read through the article and then give you my thoughts on what the article is saying as we go along. So it says, right before the housing market crashed in 2008, tumbling America into the Great Recession, the average apartment rent in Salt Lake County peaked at a little over $800. A decade later, Salt Lake County's average rent has escalated at over $1,150 a month and climbing. Researchers don't see any end in sight. Analysts from the University of Utah's Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute told the Salt Lake City Council last week when reviewing the institute's latest housing report. That's frightening. Rents in Salt Lake County and other counties along the Wasatch Front are on a steep upward trajectory, according to the report, straining the increasingly difficult search for affordable housing and begging the question on how much longer Utahns can take skyrocketing rent prices. Figures from 2018 show Salt Lake County as the highest average apartment rent of the Wasatch Front. Of course, that would be expected since Salt Lake County is kind of the main hub here along the Wasatch Front, while Utah and Davis County also showed average rents over $1,100 per month. Since the year 2000, Salt Lake County apartment rents have nearly doubled from their average of about $650 a month. That's a 78% increase, with more than 2/3 of that escalation occurring in the last 5 years. We have seen a massive amount of population increase here in the state and especially Salt Lake County over the last couple of years, so that's not a surprise. When you've got a lot of people coming into the state, of course they need a place to live, and so the housing prices go up because some people are willing to pay more in order to find a place to live. Meanwhile, rent has outpaced income growth and inflation. Since 2000, the percentage rise in rent in Salt Lake County more than doubled the rate of inflation and almost doubled the growth in renters' median income, according to the report. So this is kind of a recurring problem across the entire nation. Everybody says, okay, housing prices are going up, rent prices are going up, but incomes are not going up accordingly. And I do think that that's actually a problem. That's going to be a problem that we run into. The hard thing that we're facing right now is that you've got jobs that are higher paying, but the average income is still staying lower. So especially in Salt Lake County, Utah County, here in Utah, just across the board, you've got so many big tech jobs that are coming in. You've got a lot of high paying jobs here. And so people are earning an income where they're able to pay more in rent and they're able to afford those prices. So that's why the general trajectory is going up and why it's going up so quickly, because people are willing to pay more. Real quick, guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out here on the page, please consider subscribing to the channel and click that bell to get notified each time I release a new video just like this. I'm releasing tons of videos on what it's like to live here in Salt Lake City and the surrounding areas, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Also, if you're thinking about relocating here, make sure to get in touch with me. My information's here on the screen and it will be in the description box below. Call me, text me, email me, just get a hold of me any way that you need to so we can have a discussion about your plans to move here. How Utah fits into America's housing crisis. It's following a national trend with cities across the country struggling to keep up with housing demand. Exactly what I just said. America is currently experiencing a crisis in housing. Residents are having to pay more and more for housing while wages remain largely stagnant, making safe, quality, affordable housing harder and harder to find. In Utah, those rising rent prices are despite new apartments being built at rapid rates, particularly in downtown Salt Lake City, where a handful of skyscrapers, including a 448-foot high-rise with 39 floors of luxury apartments, are proposed. Areas in the south end of the county like South Jordan, Sandy, and West Jordan have also seen rapid expansion of the apartment market. The report shows zip codes near downtown Salt Lake City are increasingly desirable, with average apartment rent in 5 Salt Lake City zip codes having increased more than 75% since 2000. You're seeing a big transition, especially in the downtown Salt Lake area. What that demand is really coming from is it's become the hip area that people want to live. 15, 20 years ago, downtown Salt Lake was just a business district. People worked downtown. That's where you had all these, a lot of jobs, and there was a big business industry there. But now it's becoming a place where people actually want to live there as well and be close to that downtown area so that they can walk around, bike around, and just have close access to everything that they want. That's what's really driving the growth there, because it's becoming an area that's really hot, and a lot of people want to live in that area to have those amenities. So this map here, you can see where these rent prices are coming from. 84105 is right here in the middle. These surrounding areas are going up as well, and then you've got some pockets where it's expensive also. 84093 and 092 are in Sandy, and then this 84009 and 95, that's going to be South Jordan and Harriman areas. So you can see that it's getting more expensive here. If you look for the cheaper areas, you've got a little pocket here, and then you've got some pockets over here, which would be out by the airport and Magna area. And then also, this one's actually a little bit lower. I would imagine that's probably because there's not a lot of apartments in that area. According to the National League of Cities and Towns 2019 housing study, Salt Lake City is considered rent-burdened city, tending to exhibit low median income and job growth, and are approving a higher number of single and multifamily building permits. Orem and St. George are also on the national map as rent-burdened cities. Zip code 84009 in South Jordan, home of the planned community Daybreak, now has an average apartment rent of more than $19.50 per month. Yes, that's true. There's a lot of land going on out there, and it hasn't been designed around affordable housing. The cost of building has become so expensive that in order to offset those costs, the homes have to either sell for more or the apartments have to rent for more. So that's driving a lot of those high prices that you're finding there. And also, Daybreak is a community where they've offered a lot of amenities, and so to pay for those, you pay for it through the cost of your rent. 1950, the highest in the state, according to the report. Jumping back to that other report, South Jordan is considered a wealth pocket city, or a city that tends to exhibit the highest median income and job growth, and are approving high levels of single-family building permits, but low levels of multifamily building permits. In Sandy, some zip codes have an average rent price of over $1,400, kind of like we just talked about on that map. The one thing that's really sticking out here is it says that they're approving low levels of multifamily building permits. And that's very true. There's not a lot of multifamily going in those newer areas, and that's what's causing the housing shortage, and it's causing prices to be a lot more. I think one of the things that a lot of people overlook is they want the big backyard, they want the sprawling land, they want everything that you used to get 20, 30, 40 years ago, but they're not willing to pay for that in order to get it in this current market. In order to get that, you're going to have to spend more. It's just not there's just not enough land that's out there in order to give you that. So you either have to move out of the city, or you have to pay a little bit more if you want to get that inside of the city. So it's also kind of a problem on the city's end and the county, because they're not approving a lot of those multifamily building permits, because that's not really what people want. But then at the same time, they tend to kind of complain that there's not a lot of affordable housing. So it's kind of this catch-22. The people don't want these big apartment buildings going up, but at the same time, they're complaining about the prices. So it's kind of this, it just goes back and forth, and it's kind of hard to fix. But I think it actually it comes back to the city being willing to zone more areas for multifamily and just accept the growth and be there to help accommodate that growth, because it's not going away, right? The growth is going to continue to come. It's going to continue to be there. So you might as well accommodate for it and give people the affordable housing that they're looking for. Moving on, Wasatch Front's housing explosion. That's even though apartments in Salt Lake City and southern Salt Lake County have been sprouting rapidly across the county. Apartment vacancy rates remain low, under 5%. Yep. in all 4 Wasatch Front counties, despite high levels of apartment construction. There are a lot of apartments going up, but only in specific cities, right? South Salt Lake is a great example. There's a lot of apartments going up, but it's an area that not a lot of people want to live. So it's kind of, again, it's that catch-22. A lot of people don't want to live there. They'd rather live in South Jordan, but that's not where the apartments are going up. Salt Lake City had just over 12,000 apartments in 2000. In 2018, that's gone up to more than 20,500 according to the report. DJ Benway, a research analyst, shied away from calling today's housing market a housing boom because he says he doesn't necessarily think there will be a bust like in 2008. Instead, Benway describes it as an absolute explosion. I'm not really sure what that means. I would consider a boom and an absolute explosion kind of the same thing. I don't think it's going to bust either, so I'll agree with him there. But, as far as calling, whatever you want to call it, it is what it is. The market is severely overpriced, but it's also severely undersupplied. Dejan Eskik, senior research analyst at Gardner, explained to the council, pointing to rapid population growth in the state, which we talked about. So whatever happens in the economy, the demand for housing doesn't go away, especially in Utah, because we're growing every day. Eventually, market forces should lead prices to stabilize once supply catches up with demand, but as vacancy rates continue to stay low and even decline, we've not yet found that point. Again, so it's that struggle of not having enough units and having a shortage, but not being able to build those units for the people who are moving here. Statewide, Utah is estimated to have a 50,000 unit housing shortage of all kinds, from single-family homes to apartments, according to other estimates from the Institute. That's an insane number, right? You think of 50,000 units. Let's say that the average household is anywhere from 2 to 3 people, maybe even 3 to 3.5 here in Utah, just because of the number of kids. That's over 200,000, or I should say 100,000 to 250,000 potential people who are not able to find housing of their own. So they're living with family, they're living in basements, they're living, in a garage or whatever it may be, but there's this huge housing shortage going on. Meanwhile, other factors are pushing developers to build now. Construction costs are continuing to escalate, and homebuilders seek to benefit from the opportunity zones, or areas where developers can take advantage of tax breaks if they build in designated low-income areas under new federal tax reform. That is a big part of it, that there's some tax benefits if you build there. Eskik pointed to the 380-unit luxury apartment Kensington Tower proposed downtown and the 270-unit high-end residential tower Liberty Sky, barely a block away, as 2 projects that could set an example nationwide for the success of those investments. Just through the grapevine, the eyes of the country are on those 2 projects, seeing how successful they'll be. If they work out the way the developers have envisioned, they will work out. I think it will really change our market for better or worse, he said. The success of that project could really elevate rents further up because it will create a kind of higher end dynamic downtown. All right, guys, so wrapping up the article at this point, I just want to give you kind of a brief overview of what the article is saying and also just my general thoughts on it from this point forward. So the article is really saying, look, we can't build our way out of the housing shortage that we have. We have to modify what we've already got and what we're already doing. So really the easiest way for this to happen is for the city to be more lenient on the types of permits that they're putting out there, and also look at the master plan that they have and look at the type of zoning that they're going to be putting on different areas of town to really designate more areas to be multifamily. I know that a lot of people don't want that, but that's really the only way, at least the only major way to really put out more affordable housing, because labor is not going to get cheaper, materials aren't getting cheaper. These things are just going to continue to get more expensive until we find other alternatives to bring those costs down. So that's obviously going to be the first and biggest way to do that. The other option is to be more lenient on allowing accessory dwelling units, basement apartments, and mother-in-law apartments. So these are all kind of the same thing. These are basically just separate living spaces that you would have on your property, whether it's in the garage, above the garage, in the basement, whatever it is. These are just separate living spaces that you can rent out for a significantly cheaper amount than you would find for an equivalent size apartment, especially based on the city. So I'm a big fan of this, and this is something that I've done personally, and I really believe that it's a great way to provide affordable housing to people who need it, as well as help the homeowner or investor, continue to build wealth long-term through their investing strategy. So This is something that I've done personally, and I know a lot about it. So that kind of leads me right into my next point. If you're thinking about doing some type of investing in this manner, whether you want to get a duplex and live in half of it and rent out the other half, or you want to buy a home and rent out the basement, or some variation thereof, this is something that I really know how to do and can help you make a good decision on doing that. So get in touch with me. My information's here on the screen. It will also be in the description box below. Call me, text me, email me, just get a hold of me any way that you need to, so that we can have a discussion about what that looks like and see if it's the right move for you. And I want to wrap up the article breakdown here on that note. Give me a thumbs up here if you liked the content here on the video. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm to reach more people who would be interested in something like this. And drop a comment below letting me know what your thoughts are as well. Or if you'd just like to see more of Salt Lake City and what it's like to live here and the surrounding areas, that's cool too. Just let me know in the comment section. Follow me on Instagram at @UtahRealEstate_. I try to post there often, and I'd love to see you over there as well. And last but not least, subscribe to the channel here. Click that bell to get notified when I release new videos just like this. And until next time.